Hi, welcome to Yarns About Patterns. This is where I'm going to talk about my journey to learn how to write crochet and knitting designs, but also to just generally talk about crafting, yarn crafting, art, life, bits and bobs. I've been watching lots and lots of YouTubers for a long time who do knitting. I've got some favourites out there and I want to join in a little more with the community. I'm in a tiny little, this setup looks nice, I'm going to have it for about 2 days. I just moved. I was in a process of moving for months, so I've been wanting to do this whole video thing for quite a while. All of my stuff is packed up, my PC is packed up, my microphone's packed up, my webcam, not my webcam, well, my webcams as well, I've got 2, but they're all packed up. My camcorder's packed up, and I found out I don't seem to have a battery charging dock for it anymore, so I need to buy a new one of those, even if I had it, which I don't. So I ended up, just because I didn't want to stall on making this video any longer, buying this like Rode phone plug-in microphone. I'm doing it on my phone. I'm gonna have to maybe edit it on my phone. I don't know. We'll work it out as I go. But yeah, I've got some knitting plans to talk about. I'm quite a slow knitter and crocheter, so I'm definitely more on the design side of things, except I've been working on the skills for since around 2018 or so. I was taught to knit in Finland. I mean, my mum tried when I was a kid and I didn't get it. I couldn't follow the instructions at all. So I was taught continental style because I lived in Finland for 15 years. I've just moved to Scotland. There was a brief pause in England. I tried to stay there as little as possible despite being from there. And as you can tell by my general nervous demeanour, I can yap, and that's why I've called this Yarns About Patterns. I was looking for like a unique name, and I wanted it to be broad enough because I want to talk about knitting and crochet, but not just knitting and crochet. I want to talk about design and patterns. I want to talk a little bit about sewing. I taught myself to do some basic sewing tasks on the Helsinki library sewing machines. It's amazing in Finland, by the way, and like Helsinki, the new Oodi library. It just has embroidery machines, sewing machines, overlockers, 3D printing, music recording studios, musical instruments for hire. It's got everything. It's sort of a community tools library, as well as a place that you can pick up the books that you ordered online. And more of that, please. Much more of that. It enabled me to learn how to sew a little. But all of my sewing projects, guess what? They're packed up. But I'm starting YouTube anyway. At some point I would really like to do a kind of a video on all the knitting projects I've done so far. It's not loads because I'm quite slow. I'd like to do also the books I have. I've got a small stack of books and growing, so like pattern books or Yarncraft books, things related to Yarncraft. I have things to show you. They're all stacked up around me. So I was just going to show sort of what I've just worked on recently and what I'm working on at the moment. I know it's terrible. I've got a hat hiding my face. I'm looking down. I'm like, oh, I'm so shy. Oh. Right. I'm hoping the microphone's working as well, because there's going to be a long video of just wasted if it's not. Ranunculus. A lot of people have heard of this. It's one of the Ravelry, if you've heard of Ravelry, sort of top patterns. I think a lot of people on the internet will have heard of Ravelry. When I meet people at, yarn shops or knitting events or library sit and knit circles, which are really nice here. Not everybody has heard of it. But yes, I thought I'd try it. I bought some really expensive yarn. It was £18, which is a lot. And it only does this cropped version. It is not blocked, which is why I'm not wearing it. It's in one of my favourite colours. I love reds and oranges. So yeah, the little sleevelets are curling up because it's not blocked. The lace is all wobbly because it's not blocked. I had to learn how to do the fancy smanchy cast on. I don't know, ribbing on such a loosey-goosey, thin yarn, big needles looks a bit weird to me, but I guess you kind of need it to stop the edges curling the way they are on the sleeves and just to sort of give that jumper impression. The reason I decided to do this was because I wanted a one skein project. Tops are something I can use, like layering and tops. That's something I will actually wear. And wanted to support my local yarn store, and I couldn't afford much more than buying one treat yarn for sort of Christmas birthday. I'm a Christmas time baby, so I had a Christmas Eve cast on as a treat. This is my birthday present to myself. It took me about 2.5 weeks in which I was busy with lots of other things. I had to learn how to do the cast on. I guess I've never done a top down jumper in the round ever before, or there was some raglan something or other somewhere. I really didn't pick up much from it, as in it wasn't much raglan, so I think I'll have to do it a few more times. I did pick up and add some stitches around here somewhere. Maybe it's showing like here or something. I know that's the pattern. Somewhere here, maybe this slightly bigger hole here is that it wasn't quite good enough for me. So I did actually go off piece the others. I think I did it slightly different on each side. There's another, so I picked up some extra stitches. I sort of made and then unmade a stitch, as in I added, increased and then decreased. I just did a normal sort of knit purl cast off here. My rib, I actually had to play yarn chicken. I did not get through the full length of the rib, and I would normally, because I almost said spoilers, I'm middle-aged. Spoiler? What? So I've got the sort of premenopausal tummy, so I don't really wear crop tops anymore, and this is a very crop top. I need to block it long. I wanted it longer, but I also wanted to follow the pattern as written at least once, so that in future, if I use the pattern again to get, you know, more value for money, and because it is a very flexible pattern, then I'll know what to do better. And it was quite quick as well. Like, another thing I'm ashamed of, like, I look at this, my knit, well, there's one where I had to ladder down. There's a bit in the back where I had to ladder down and then fix it, and it's still, hopefully a good block will help, but I've not noticed blocking helping me with the fact that my stitches and my tension are all over the place. And this is why I say I'm more design focused than knit focused, but I say that, and how am I supposed to claim that if I've not designed anything or put it out? Well, I've not put it out. I have actually designed a couple of things, and that's why I'm starting these videos now. But one of them is crochet, and it's turning into quite a big and complicated project, and I don't want to talk about it too much. There's a little bit of reveal I can do, but it's taking a while for the reason that it's very flexible, and I want to get some nice pictures of it. I'm also going to send it to at least one person to check. This is the first time now this year I'm making patterns for the first time. I don't have a group of testers to call on. One of my goals this year is I need to join in other people's test knits to learn that. My first patterns, I put the book over there. I've got the Knitting Pattern Writing Handbook, so that while I can't sort of pay for somebody to check and edit the pattern myself, I have made documents in the past, and I've worked in quality control and technical writing and usability. So I actually have enough experience to feel confident that I will do a good enough pattern for a first pattern while I'm getting established. For testing, I'm not sure. I will try and get some people to test the crochet one, but first I need to make pictures. I've done the chart for one half of it. There's a couple of variations, and I think I want to do a few more variations. There's some directional stuff I want to reverse, so that I've got both forward and reverse directions. Ooh, you're gonna have to puzzle this one out. I'm not telling you what it is. And there's several ways that it can be made and assembled, and I want to test that out, and I want to get photos of it. Also, it's going to be very different in different yarns and different yarn sizes, needle sizes, well, hook sizes, because it's crochet. It can be used for different purposes, and obviously it's going to scale completely different, and the colour choice is going to make a big difference. There is an original colour choice, and I can show you the yarn I'm working with at the moment mainly, which is very not me actually. For a debut crochet pattern from me, the colour choice is inspired by something external, so it's sort of challenged me to pick colours I would never normally have picked. that's what I'm using for my main projects I'm working on right now. I'm about 50% through a really big one that I've been working on for months. I've got some finishing to do, and then I want to do some extra, as well as the reverse direction, there's some extra finishing details which I will have to create and write up. So I've written up one chart of one variation, then I need to make a second chart for the second variation, then I need to do the 2 reverse variation charts, then I need to do the extra detail charts, and then I have to do all the checking and editing. I've got UK and US terminology versions that I'm writing out. I've written out most of the written instructions to go with the chart for the, I believe, the US version so far. It might be the UK. I'd have to look at it again. What's my status? I'm probably about 30% of the way there, and I've been going for quite a few months. So I've realised that even though I really, really, really wanted to get this pattern out, it's worth waiting for. And one of the reasons is that I would like it to be good enough to charge a little for it, because it's going to take me in the end about a year before I produce it. And I would like to make sure I've got all my bases covered, because there's been some, I don't know, I try not to watch too many sort of crochet scandal videos. I don't like that kind of thing. But every now and then I'll be a little bit curious, at least to see what's going on, even if I don't like the format very much. And there was one about the knitted felted stripy slippers, and the designer getting in a bit of trouble for going around sort of claiming copyright on people's crochet versions of that. And then her saying, this is all very secondhand, her saying that she was planning on writing a crochet version later. And so in my mind, I'm like, well, I've got this very adaptable thing that I have ideas for and plans for, that's my pattern, my first pattern, and I just want to make sure I've got all the bases covered, because I'm excited about those ideas, and I'm slow, and I don't have the setup. I'm not an experienced designer. I can't just whip, I don't have the templates ready to go. I'm not fast at making things. I don't have the budget to buy all the fancy yarns to do all the tests I want yet. So if I release it in part because I'm impatient, and then somebody goes and does all the things I'm excited about and releases it as their own, I'm going to feel bad. So I'm going to wait on that. And in the meantime, there is a pattern that I can release, and I won't be doing it for a month or so. And I think it's pretty, nobody's going to see this video, right? It's pretty banal, it's pretty simple. It's something that I went to the Glasgow School of Yarn knitting shopping festival. I just went briefly, I only went for an afternoon. I managed to say hi to probably my favourite knitting VTuber, which is Martin from Knit365. Although I think I just babbled at him and terrified him and maybe offended him, I don't know. I was just so tired and overwhelmed because I'd been at a university open day in the morning, and I was really just drained already, that I just sort of got there, saw him, babbled at him, it was afternoon, had a few words and then left. And that was it. I'm terrible. I can't make a very good first impression all the time. Sometimes I do okay, sometimes I fall flat on my face. It is what it is. But yes, I was wearing a dress I've knitted, one of the first major things I knitted. A nice, what do you call it? Brioche cabled shawl, which was also what I'd knit really early on. I'm big into pushing myself because I want to learn new techniques so that I've got the technique library to make designs. So I always push myself to learn something new with every single thing that I've knit. And I'd forgotten my belt because I've been travelling backwards and forwards between England and Scotland, and I'd forgotten to bring a belt. So I don't feel right wearing that dress without a belt. So I tried to make one, and I tried to make one the day before, and I got halfway through it. So I ended up going without the belt in the end. But over the next couple of days attending archaeology lectures, which are open to the public, I did finish my belt here. My belt is now my face. It's a linen stitch belt with some I-cord ties, quite long I-cord ties, and it works quite nicely, I think. Maybe I'll put a picture of the outfit that I've managed to find that it goes okay with. It would go nicely sort of in belt loops if I had belt loops the right size to fit it, but I like it as this wider belt. So I've written the instructions down for this as I was doing it in a little notepad, and then I've put sizing on there. Some of the sizing advice is the sort of normal advice of use thicker yarn and a bigger needle and you'll get bigger things, but I've also put sort of extra stitch count versions. It's not been tested because I cannot afford to make every single size of belt right now. I do want to make another one, and I want to make another one with beads, so I've got a bead version. And what I was thinking is, because it would be my very first pattern release, it's quite a simple one, it's more the kind of thing you can release. I will release it for free, and I'll put maybe a little matrix on there. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to open up a little forum thing on my Ravelry page for YAPs, which I guess I'll put a link down below. And when I release the pattern with the matrix, I'll re-upload it every now and then with a new version. And the new version will contain, with people's consent, like if somebody makes it and they write in the forum, I used this size needle and I did this size of the pattern and this type of yarn, and these are the dimensions. And so people can submit that information to me by choice if they want to, and they don't have to. And if that does happen, then I will update the PDF and it'll be like version 0.2, 0.3, with a little note at the bottom saying last updated and some thanks on the end. And so it'll just be a continuous free PDF and it'll get sort of updated and any problems will get fixed. I am going to check it, proofread it very thoroughly, even without anyone, you know, needing to correct me. And I do want to make another one of these. And I've got an idea of the kind of thing that I would like to pair up with it as well. But I need to be able to buy and find the correct yarn, which I have in mind. I want to do a creamy one, like a light creamy belt with beads. So I will be keeping an eye out for an affordable couple of balls of yarn for that, or ball of yarn, probably just one, it's not that much. I haven't weighed it yet. Yeah, I actually want to get a thicker yarn as well. So I want, because this was DK held double, 2 different DKs that go through 2 different colour ranges held double. It's the Hobby Colorina yarn, which I've been using for Christmas gifts. And actually I've got another project that I'm using some leftovers of that with, so this is Hobby Colorina. Ooh. So I've got black and red here. This project is from the, what's the book called? I've got it down here. It's from this. Glasgow University Knits, and it is the Gilded Cowl, which isn't on Ravelry, and there are many other Gilded Cowls on Ravelry, none of which are this. The colours that I happen to have left over and the kind of sort of alt gothy colours that I want to use are black and red, which isn't very contrasty, unfortunately, but it's still gonna look nice. And again, a neck scarf cowl that can go with different coloured outfits. For me, that's something I will actually wear. So it's worth making. I'm making it with one less repeat because I'm using DK yarn and it tells you to use fingering weight. And I'm gonna do one less repeat vertically as well, which means shifting part of the pattern instructions, which I'm not going to go into because they're in the book. You can buy the book online. They sell out quite well because I went to the shop to buy them after visiting a lecture, and they had a stack of them, but my bank card was not working. So I came back the next day with cash, and the books had been moved off the cashier to some other place. And there were already a couple less of them, And from where they had moved, underneath where the books were on the previous day, it said, "No cash, card only." So I had to come back a week later when I'd finally got a replacement bank card in order to buy this book, and there was one left because they'd been selling out so much online, I think, that they'd just been taking them from the shop front to send off. So I think they're quite popular and they do get reprinted a lot, and there's a good reason for it. They've got some really nice patterns in it. Right, I was talking about the colours of the crochet as well, the crochet design. So what I found when I was designing this was down in England, in Sheffield, there's the Moor Market Haberdashery crafting shop. It's like right in the doorways of the sort of more pedestrianised shopping area, indoor market. They have some big yarn baskets, and I was looking around at all the other yarn as well in the little nook. But in the end, this is the type I got. It's Woolcraft New Fashion Chunky Ears. Totally, it's about £3 per, maybe £3.50 per 100 grams. It's 150 meters of 100% acrylic. Warm minimum, wash 40 degree for machine. Do not wring, do not iron, dry cleanable, do not bleach. It recommends only knitting needles on the back, 6mm for UK. However, I'm crocheting with a hook that's maybe, no, it's not too far on the tight side, actually. This is shade 140. But I also have this colour. And this colour. Also, guess what? Another colour. So, as you can see, it is, I mean, yellow, green and two blues. It's a good set. They complement each other in a way. They are still quite bold though. You've got your sort of grungy dark colours. You've got a very good sort of dark to light values scale. You've got, I don't know, they're all, the yellow is very warm, the rest are all on the very cold side. Well, this is borderline, actually, thinking about colour theory. And then there's white to go with it, and there's plenty of it. That is as much of a hint as you get on the crochet design. But I have been using it to make some little friends. For the first time, I've done a little bit of amigurumi in the last few months. I've made a pterodactyl called Pateri. It was named by the D&D group. I had a ranger in D&D who, playing the modern Tomb of Annihilation, which is on an island full of dinosaurs. So when he got a pet, he tamed a pteranodon. And my friend linked up this free pteranodon pattern, which details I hope I've added. Maybe I haven't, maybe I've put them in the link. I'll probably put them down below. A few weeks later, I was looking for things. I had lots of scraps. I'd been finishing stuff off, including this project. And I had loads and loads, like big piles of scraps from that and from the Christmas presents I've been making, which I don't want to talk about too much in case anyone's watching that will get a Christmas present in future. Maybe later, when I've given out all the Christmas presents I can ever give, then I will talk about those. But I wanted to use the scraps as stuffing. That's the point I'm trying to make. I wanted to use them as stuffing, so I made a friend for Pateri. I looked at all of the green things I could make because I had a lot of bright green colour left over. One of the duds I bought is like I bought a bright green one instead of this shade of green, and then realised it was the wrong shade. So I wanted to use that. So I made a little dinosaur, and it's the cutest thing I've ever made. Pictures have probably been up here. It's called, well, I made a slight mistake. I was a bit lazy. I didn't put a marker on the first rounds and its head first. And so it got twisted, and it's like looking over its shoulder all coy, like, ee! And I put a little smiley face on, and I looked up how to make non-beady eye, like how to make crochet eyes. And there was a nice little blog guide that said, oh, put a little fleck of light in them. And so I did all that, and I made it. I didn't want it to be face forward, so it's not face forward, and I didn't want eyes facing forward because it's not a predator. So I put its eyes on the side where they should be for not a predator. And then I sort of decided that I wanted It was a Monkeysaurus and I decided I wanted it to be a Stegosaurus. And the original pattern has a stumpy little tail and just like one row of continuous spines, like one after the other on the back. And I decided, no, I'm going to have a Stegosaurus with 2 rows of alternating spines and 4 spikes on the tail. And the tail's going to be a bit longer. So that's what I did. I just kind of winged it. I just made it up. And this is where we get into the tension in me of being a beginner and having the pattern making and design drive in excess of my skill and knowledge. So like maybe the tail spikes are a bit clumsy and I could have done them slightly better, but I don't know how yet. And so I have to balance as well time-wise, because I could really spend full time making patterns, except I also need to spend half of my time learning how to make patterns while I'm trying to make the patterns. But I'm doing it now early because usually in life what I've done is I've gotten really interested in a skill and I've learned and I've learned and I've learned and I've really enjoyed learning. And before putting anything out there, I want it to be so good, too good, you know? And then it never, by the time I get there and start putting it out, it still never feels good enough. And I maybe get one project or one thing out of it and I'm like, I'm done now. And then I move on to something else instead because I like to, which I'm not apologising for. I enjoy it and I now have lots of random skills which can come in handy sometimes. What else have I got here in my pile? I bought myself 3 diaries today, and the reason I'm showing these is because one of them's going to be an actual diary. This one, I think. This one's got a really nice pattern on it. I'm not going to use them, well, apart from the actual diary, as a diary or journal. I'm going to use them as notebooks. Because I went into, I mean, these have WH Smith written on them, but WH Smith, big old brand in the UK, taken over by, what is it called, TJ Jones? And they're having some kind of clearance sale. So I went in there looking for notebooks, thinking, great, I can get some pretty notebooks with pretty notebook covers, just lined notebooks, you know? No, there were diaries on sale, so these would all have been about £14 and they're instead £5 each. Great. I know there's like 365 pages at least in each of these. That's pretty good for a £5. I'm good with that. They're really nice. You know, I've got two that have straps or seals around them and one that doesn't. The pages are generally quite big, you know, and loose. It's basically a lined notepad. There's an occasional annoying date and for some reason a QR code in it, but otherwise pretty good, you know. They've got the little silk doodly dads. So yeah, this one has got mushrooms and flowers. Do love a good chat about fungi. This one's got bees, and the other one's got a lovely floral embossed, sort of very tasteful and stylish surface, I think. This one will be just general notes. It's going to have stuff in there that I will talk about later, but it will have just life stuff as well. This one is, the Busy Bee one, is going to be for spinning, because currently I've used up the last new page in this old horrible notebook. Yeah, the entire page is full of notes on some fibres. One of my goals for 2026 is to learn how to spin with a hand spindle, and that is linked to archaeology as well, because eventually I want to be able to learn how to spin plant fibres if I take to it during this year and build up the skill. And I've tried it once before. Spinning is something I really want to learn to do. I tried it last year. A friend lent me their drop spindle and some sort of quite coarse natural wool, grey in colour, naturally grey, and I produced the sort of very lumpy, wobbly, all over the place in size, sometimes highly twisted, sometimes loosely twisted yarn. But I really liked it. It was difficult. It was really difficult. It was kind of frustrating. I got, you know, I had to keep stopping and starting. I couldn't, you know, freely spin with it. but I was learning, and I could feel myself learning in real time. Like I could feel it improving second from second. I could feel myself learning the physical feeling of the fibers and how to draft them. And it was just really, I love learning anyway, but it was the most sort of conscious sensation of learning a skill I have ever experienced. So long as that feeling retains, I think I'm going to really love spinning. And on that basis, or I'd better, I've got only a part-time job, so I've got a very low budget. I have to save up to treat myself to little bits of yarn, like for the ranunculus and for this spinning. So I treated myself at the Glasgow School of Yarn that I mentioned to. This is from For the Love of Yarn, which is the other. So the Yarn Cake run Glasgow School of Yarn, and they're a knitting shop and cafe in Glasgow, and they have nice knitting events. For the Love of Yarn is also a wonderful knitting shop in Glasgow, who have like knitting events and dyeing workshops, and they have a lot more hand spun, hand dyed stuff. So this is 100 grams of 100% Polworth, 22 to 23 microns, hand wash only fruit sorbet. It was £20, which is so much money, but I mean, look at it, it's gorgeous. So this, my plans for this are to learn, maybe it's not going to be the first one I try and spin, I think, I'm not sure. It's to learn, basically to learn different patterns, like how is this colour gonna come out and pattern up. So I'll probably split it into 2 or 3 batches, and I'm gonna just gonna try different colour combinations and techniques of spinning the yarn together, and have somewhere, I'll probably split it in 2 and then split each one in 2 again, and have somewhere it's like top to tail, and have somewhere the colours are matched, and yeah, that kind of thing. That's the plan for that. Then I went to For the Love of Yarn in person, and I'd taken a little video in the Yarn Cake, but I haven't taken one in For the Love of Yarn yet, and there is a third shop that I have yet to get to, which is a plan in the next few weeks. But I went there in person and I was chatting away, and I didn't have much money. It was at the end of the month, but I managed to get these, I think for a total of about £12, 50 grams each, and they're just such nice colours. I love colour, like this one's a brown, this one's dark red, this is a bright orange, the brown is a very dark brown. It kind of makes me think of like a dark chocolatey horse colour, like if you see a horse, its tail. I don't know, depends on the colour of the horse, but yeah, people who love horses will be face palming and telling me the name of this colour. This one I'm not sure what it is. It might be a merino, but it's quite fuzzy, whereas this merino is feels very smooth. I think they're quite similar though. So I think I got 2 merinos, and this one, I believe they told me it was a Rochdale. Oh no, I can't pronounce it. And this one is, I believe they said carded, and these 2 I think are combed. And yet I'm going to put them together. The plans for these, one of them was to try a 3-ply, was to prep them in layers so that I have thin layers of the different colours, and then I do a centre pull, and maybe I change the direction of the thin layers and do a centre pull and see how those colours look when they come through. And then the 3-ply is because I'm curious to see how that goes with the different materials, but also how do you do a 3-ply on a drop spindle? It might not be possible. I don't know. I've got it in there. I'll figure it out. Next, the drop spindle. So this is the Turkish drop spindle. I was told it's very good for beginners, very handy because of the way you can take it off and it's like spun round there in a nice way, and you just sort of take it out of the middle of the yarn and you're Gucci. Great. So this is what I will be trying to learn on mostly. I have one of my friends has a 3D printer and loves 3D printing stuff, and he is going to send me a 3D printed, just plain sort of I don't know what they're called, just a basic drop spindle. The one with the little weight at the bottom. I did know the word of it, I've forgotten. The other thing I've asked for is a yarn holder spinner, so you can do colour work better, and sort of, the idea is that it spins around and untangles as you go. Whether it works or not, I will have to test, but considering when I was Googling for ones to buy, they're about £40 and some of them were 3D printed anyway. I thought I would just ask my friend to 3D print one, and there are some out there on the pattern libraries. So that'll be interesting to try. I'm going to need to do some kind of colour work project. I'm going to have to try some Fair Isle or something. I bought this from Wood U as in EWE. Her father hand makes all of the wooden spinning tools. I went to World of Wool. Here's a big box. Here's a big box of wool. One thing I got because I wanted to see what it was like was this boucle. This is for doing swatches with. I have some sock pattern stuff in mind and I want to see how this feels, and I want to do different swatches of it and see if it's nice against the skin or not. I also want to find out if I can hand spin boucle on a drop spindle, and every time I've tried to Google it, I've just been getting wheels coming up and not much about drop spindles. So if anyone knows, like, if there's a good resource for that. I mean, the basic advice, you know, of the 3 different types of yarn and the different spins and the different directions is out there. Presumably still applies to drop spindles. So I'm going to try it at some point. And with that in mind, this is white Blueface Leicester top, 100 grams. And then this is called shortbread. It appears to have bits of leaf in it. This is, I believe, nylon and merino mix. I think you can see the strand of nylon in it there. I don't know, it doesn't look very mixed if I can see the strand of nylon, which worries me. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's leafy, that's odd. But yeah, I've got 100 grams of that, although I probably won't need the same quantities. So this one is meant to be the thin yarn that holds it together. And this is meant to be the main yarn that makes the boucle wiggles, I think. Right? And then I've also got this carded merino bat. I want to put fluffy lumps in it as well. I want to do some experiments. This is a lot of material and it requires techniques that I do not know and are very tricky. So these are a long-term thing. Could I have waited to buy them? Maybe not. These are Corriedale Rust and Corriedale Ruby. So my plans for this, oh, I've got one more. Where is it? Corriedale Mustard, which is that's about right. My plans for these are, they're all 50 grams. Ooh, I haven't written down a plan for these. I think I might do stripy. Maybe I'll do self-striping with these. They're just nice, aren't they? I don't know, a sort of stripy sock type thing would be nice, but I have to be good enough to be able to make a consistent enough thing to make a sock out of. These might be stripy sock yarn, might be self-striping. So I might try split them into 2 batches, well, 2 batches, which would then be 2 for 2-ply. Although does stock have to be 3-ply? But then it would be quite thick, and I don't think I can be, like, I don't know how Corriedale does for sock. If it would just fall apart quite quickly. Could make a cowl design or something, couldn't I? I don't know. Depends how long the stripes are. I'll have to make longer stripes if it's going to be a cowl. Research needed. Now you may notice that I've mentioned like merino, some blended with nylon. I've mentioned Corriedale, I think I mentioned Rochdale. So I've also got these blue-faced Leicester. Now this is duller than I thought it would be, which I should have guessed by the name, corn yellow, but online it looked much brighter. And this is Raven. But because it's 50 grams each, it's not much, and it's experimental, I kind of want to do like a self-patterning yarn with this, and I'm not sure how thick my yarn is going to come out. And I'm not sure how tricky it's going to be, because it'll mean doing quite small chunks. Like, I think there's a different way to do the kind of pattern that I want to do, and it wouldn't be by choosing where to include things in a spin, because the spinning's just going to draw them out too long. So I could do a large version of it. But I think it would actually be, if I wanted the kind of pattern I want for self-patterning socks, I think I would need to do it with dye and really, really carefully like lay it out and calculate it to the millimeter. But yeah, I want some kind of danger, high voltage, black and yellow stripy thing. And so I'm going to experiment with that. So I'll probably get like a chunk of black, chunk of yellow, chunk of yellow, chunk of black, black, yellow, all different sizes, and then order them in a sort of repeating pattern. And so that will take a lot of prep and a lot of faff of like, now we're changing back to yellow, now we're changing back to black. I'll have lots of little piles next to me in a big row. It's going to be an operation. That's the kind of weird technical experiment I like, though. Another YouTuber I love watching, Engineering Knits, because she does all the technical geeky stuff. Yeah, I like getting in there with that. So that's what they're for. Right. I have, and this is going to be probably one of the, I don't know actually. I was thinking this was going to be one of the later things I spin. This is called Electro Lights by Shabazz, and it has 80% merino, 20% mulberry silk. And it's got these gorgeous, I don't know if you can see what I'm holding up. I don't know if you get what I'm putting out there. So it's bright pink, a streak of black, a streak of white, and a sort of bright but deep blue purple, all only barely mixed together. So I think I will be doing this from the fold as well. So there's a couple of things I was going to try doing from the fold, but I think I'll do this from the fold after I try experimenting with these from the fold. I've watched tutorials on how to do it, doing it's another matter. Then we have these. This is a deep purple called Aubergine. Shetland, these are Shetland. I think I started the thought earlier where I said, I've got lots of different types of wool. I want to learn how all the different types of wool and yarn and stuff that I can get my hand on feel. Like I want to do it right from the get-go. I don't want to do just one type. Everyone is going to be different. So part of my learning journey of using the spindle probably means that I will be terrible at it for longer, but I want to not get stuck in a rut and be afraid to try a new thing. I don't want to just get really good at spinning merino and then be too comfortable to do anything else. So Shetland, nice, like I love these colours. I think they go quite well together. I haven't quite decided. I think I might do the spin quite early, even though I want them to be really nice and my spinning isn't going to be good enough for them to be really nice. I can get more. Maybe. I managed to get these because it was the Black Friday sale. I don't like that sale, especially as it's not our culture's holiday. But when you're broke, you're broke. Again, it's another one of these. When you're broke, you're broke. You do what you gotta do. And I just happened to be buying these anyway, and I saw like I was in the market for this stuff, and I saw that there was a sale on, and I wanted a couple of other bits and bobs anyway, so I got more. bits and bobs because they were cheaper. These, yeah, I'm probably going to do them plain, but I have some rough idea of like, maybe I'll take a portion of them and do a kind of like speckled gradient. Like, oh, it'll be mostly purple, and then I'll put little sections of orange in, and some gradually more and more until it's quite orangey. And I might do that, and then if I do it twice, I don't know how you'd get that to it. I have to think about it, but I might do them just plain. I might just not make a fuss for once and do something plain. Speaking of plain, this 50 grams of merino in colour ash. Grey is a great staple. It's a great thing to go with anything. Yep. Just gonna spin it, I think. I don't know. So I'm gonna do the rainbow one first, and then maybe this, and then after this probably these, and then what was I going to do with the Shetland one again? I've got it written down and everything. Whatever I was going to do with the Shetland ones. Oh yeah, the Shetland ones are going to be mostly plain, so I might do those. Yeah, I am surrounded by yarn. Oh, beautiful. Do I have anything else to talk about? Yes, one more bag. One more bag. I thought I would never, because I don't usually get stuff done very quickly, and I don't buy much. I thought I wouldn't have enough to talk about, and it wouldn't be yarny enough, and I'd have to talk about all my other stuff. But that's just going to be a little bit at the end, it looks like. I did, whilst I was picking up the crochet yarn from the haberdashery on the mall, I couldn't resist. I shouldn't have, like, it put me so close to over budget to get these as well. I just got some really fine cottony crochet yarn. So there's two reasons I got these. One of them is there's a free choker pattern with roses online. It was unfortunately a tab on my computer, which is now packed up until I get a permanent home. I haven't seen it since the end of August. My computer is my baby. I am crying. So I'm going to have to try and Google for it again or find it. It was recommended on Tumblr. And now I don't know how I'm going to find it again, because I don't tumble without my computer either. There are certain things I do on certain machines. It's very, like, I have boxes for things. Metaphorical boxes. I don't think outside of those boxes. I do sometimes. But these, I've got the blue and the green for the roses because I love blue roses, and the black because goth. And I'm hoping there's enough here that maybe I can use it for a test knit. Like, maybe I can apply to some, I've got Luna Still Gothic, that's the name on Instagram, I think. I've got her Crochet Like a Goth book that was published this year. And there are some bits I want to do from it. Mostly I want to do a collar and cuffs, but I want to do a collar and cuffs that I would then sew onto a tailored shirt. And I've got this gorgeous material from a charity shop for about, was it £2 or £4? It's like black satin with a large sort of large leaf and flower kind of pattern. And on one side the leaves and flowers are shiny, and on the other side the background's shiny. And, you know, but it's all in black. It's just shiny black and matte black, the pattern. And I really want to make like a poofy shirt, but I'm thinking poofy shirt with fancy goth collar and cuffs. That could be nice. My sewing skills aren't up to it, but I can try. My crochet skills probably are, so I'm probably going to make some of her patterns with that, but I also want to do test patterns for her at some point. Something that's not too big. And maybe I can use this, but it is quite fine and it depends on what the pattern is. And I keep looking at her testicles and I keep being too busy. The one last thing I said is I've been to the theatre today and tomorrow, so one of the things that I might be writing in this book of general notes is stuff to do with playwriting, because one of my goals for this year, 2026, learn to spin. Another of my goals is to write more plays. I've written one short play. I've got one historical musical in progress, but that's a long-term thing because I don't have access to a musician, you know, even if I write the book and, you know, the lyrics. I'm going to say the lyrics because otherwise people will get confused. But if I write the text and the lyrics of the play, I can't do the music. Like, I can come up with the odd like bits of ideas, but I'm not a musician. Speaking of musicians, my intro music is by Violet Rose Fay, my wonderful friend who kindly made it for me. That was commissioned. I don't know if you've been like doing what I do when I watch YouTube videos and sort of knitting or crafting or just enjoying having a voice in the house that's of your choosing and that you can control the volume on and pause if necessary. Very important, that part. This is chaos. I have patterns to do. I hope to do some spinning in 2 days' time on Sunday. I've got a full empty day. So I hope to do some spinning then. I also hope to do some playwriting very soon. Maybe neither of them will hit, and what I'll actually do is I'll write up the belt pattern. Really though, I do have to go. I can hear movements around the house. There's already been some noise interruptions. Probably going to get noisier again. So, how do we do a wrap up? I think we say thank you. If you've come to this video on a new channel who like no one's ever watched before, and with me who's very awkward and hasn't done this before, with my terrible iPhone setup and this terrible lighting, wow. I mean, you should have a cookie if you like them, if you want them. Don't let me tempt you if you don't like them. If you're gluten intolerant, don't have a gluten cookie, please. But no, thank you so much for joining. I hope to be back every couple of weeks, depending on time and schedules. I don't want to be a professional YouTuber burdened by the need for algorithmic glory. So I'll be back when I'm back, hopefully at least once a month. Once I sat down to talk, this wasn't too bad. And I always have lots to say. I'm like a packet of Pringles. Once you pop, you can't stop. Bye. Sorry, notebook, you've been very useful, but you're not very pretty. Just negging my notebook. Wow, that's just made a mess everywhere.